Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Virtual Thursdays. I'm saying it really slow because I'm in the middle of doing two things at once. Dire Literary Series. And tonight, oh, Jesus. Tonight we are trying to live stream into the Virtual Thursdays site here. And I thought I could do it smoothly, but things are never all that smooth. And now we're in. So, hey, so welcome. And our guest is a repeat performer, and actually, it's our third time that I've been on the same platform as Rebecca. And let me see if I can show you a little bit of stuff here about her. This is here we go. Hang on a sec. Sometimes, sometimes it gets a little rough. There we go. Ta-da! Rebecca Fishow is a prose writer, creative writing instructor, and visual artist. Her collection, The Trouble with Language, won the 2019 Holland Prize. Her fiction chapbook, The Opposite of Entropy, was published in 2018 by Proper Tales Press. Her work has appeared in many, many places. And usually I say learn more about her on her website, but her website is down. So just actually, if you Google her, you'll learn a whole lot about her with interviews and books. And here is the new book, How to Love a Black Hole. So it's a wonderful book, follow up to the book that won the Holland Prize. And she's going to read a little something from it. So why don't you take it away, Rebecca, and welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I did not know my website was down, so thank you. Thank you for letting me know. I'll have to
It's just
check
one of
that
those
out.
extra services we provide here at the
Yeah,
series.
I appreciate it. It's really useful. Great to be back. Very happy to be here. I think in 2020, when I was here the last time, every event was online because it was like the heart of it was smack dab in the middle of COVID. And it's nice to see a lot of these online events continuing. It's so nice to get together with people from all over the country. So thank you all for being here. Yeah, so this is my second book of short stories, How to Love a Black Hole, and I am going to read just a couple of really short stories in the book. Most of the stories are really short, like under 4 pages, but some are even shorter. And I think I will start with the first story in the book, Dr. Ear. And this story is a single sentence, so if I run out of breath at any time, that is why. Dr. Ear. Are you kidding? Of course I hid it from him. I mean, they say you're supposed to share everything with your spouse, your menstrual cramps, body counts, passwords. But put yourself in my shoes. What would you do waking with a fleshy, rippled lump on your lower back that looks like an ear but must be a tumor? So you do. You show your man. Of course you do. But his gentle touch makes you wince more in panic than pain, as in his calm voice he says, it's probably benign, a harmless fluke. But his face is all terror as he tells you a doctor visit never hurts. So the next week at the clinic, there are more ears now on your arms, your belly, one by your foot, an ear growing off your original ear, and he sends you text messages every 2 minutes with little red hearts insisting it'll be okay as you bend forward for this old man doctor who says looks like ears, and you think no shit, Sherlock, and the old man scowls. So maybe you said it out loud, but either way, he sends you to the ear specialist down the hall, who's, if you're being honest, the most immediately lovely doctor human you've ever met, probably. And he touches your ears gingerly, applies salves, feathers his fingers over every little fold, finds you incredible, you unicorn, you gem, suggests weekly check ins. And you even tell all this to your husband, who starts pulling every overwhelming trick to make you feel safe, cooking meals, running baths, so careful not to touch your ears, not to hurt or scare you, apologizing, when meanwhile you fantasize about Dr. Ear's touch, can't wait for the next time he whispers sweet nothings into each canal, this man who studies, who learns, who knows you now like no one has before. And what do you say to your husband when weekly visits turn daily? Then there's candlelit dinners and a weekend tryst because you're covered now, filthy with ears that Dr. Ear nibbles in a way that melts your soul. So you tell me, how do you say, husband, I'm finally home? Um, thank you. That one is, yeah, it's a mouthful and an earful. And I'm going to read one more story that um, I don't know, for some reason feels appropriate at this moment. I've been having a really rough couple weeks, couple months, couple years, as I'm sure many of us have been. And yeah, I just like everything fucking sucks right now, but I'm a little bit encouraged by the response to Minneapolis, and I'm going to try to run with that in my heart and in my soul for a little while until the next disaster, I suppose. But yeah, it's been a really tough time. And this next story I'm going to read is called "Go Back." Um, I don't know if any of you have like family members who have extremely different political views than you. And if you do, that's fucking hard right now. I don't know what to do with my sister at this point. But this next story I'm going to read is kind of about her. And I think it's kind of the most, I don't know, kind of generous way I could find to write about her. So it's called Go Back. Um, Go Back. Before the 2 month stints in Djibouti, before the machine guns and the all hour shifts, the flies blacking out the sky and the blackouts, go back before the defense contract salary paid for your house, your nightmares, your long list of death days. Forget the muscly Trump flag over your temporary bed, the sandstorms, the beheadings, the suicide bombs, Al Shabaab. Go back before Poland and spying on Russian spies, the code names, your intel, the checkpoints, the scans, the close calls have not occurred. You're back before drinking on leave became your best life, before hangover headaches, raw throats, and toilet bowls, before mimosas for breakfast and cocktails for lunch. Go back to orange soda. Hot dogs grilled juicy and slathered with ketchup, before the ketchup resembled spilt blood. Replace the bodies with buns. Before that time during an interrogation, that sergeant made you impersonate an Iraqi woman to get an assassin to talk. Before tracking dots on 3D maps and alerting higher ups when they crossed the wrong lines. Go back before the higher ups alerted the ground troops and the ground troops killed the dots. Remember how I hated mayonnaise on burgers? Remember the orange soda we never got to have except on days like this? Mown lawn and butter and sun warmed tar. When the 4th of July meant sprinklers and pools. Remember fireworks and fireflies. Forget explosives and fires. Before detached limbs and scorched skin, there were ribs and fingers and wings. Your fellow Marines' limbs never scattered like litter across the dirt. Remember leaping from swings. Forget diving from planes. Forget the casualty reports you composed your first MOS before the Humvee drilled at Camp Pendleton flattened your friend. Forget the gas chamber burning your lungs at Paris Island, the sexism in the barracks and mess halls, those horny, barely legal male Marines who clutched at your flesh and called you slut. Forget at 18 that Marine recruiter who rolled his eyes and scoffed. Why would you want to join those Air Force pussies? The Marines are the toughest there is. Forget all those acronyms WMD, IED, MOS, MRE, the surgeries that fix your legs after combat training broke them, the time you told me you were shipping out again because they need more bodies in Iraq. Before the flashbacks, there were watermelon slices, pink dripping down your chin. Before the anger, there were the summers we gorged on macaroni salad and drank so much orange soda our tongues stayed stained. Go back to the time we were simply sisters playing Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you, the blue ninja, every damn time, the toughest fighter, the leader of the pack, me, April O'Neil, ready to report. The only thing you killed were the nemesis of our imaginations. The only things marching were the armies of ants, and all they wanted was sugar in the sun. Thank you very much.
Well, two stories. I certainly wanted some more, and
Oh, yeah?
I love how you closed both of them. Especially like Dr. Ear. I was expecting the big close because it's one sentence, and you definitely you nailed it. Now, is Dr. Ear the longest sentence that you've ever written?
I think probably, yeah. Yeah, actually, definitely. Um, it was a challenge, but I wanted to keep that momentum going in that story.
Yeah. So your collection, how the Trouble with Language came out a couple years ago, and this new one came out. Now, how does this one differ in your mind from the other collection, and what have you gained as a writer since?
Yeah, so I think I mean, the first book was really, they both are, but the first book was really, really special to me. I feel like it was kind of a culmination of my apprentice years in a way, and it was really, it felt really close to my experience and close to my sensibility. And it was raw in a ways that I think this book is too. But I think I took the time between that book and this book to really think about form and structure a lot. And I think in this book, one of the things that I was really curious about are kind of the different formal elements of fiction, and how I can use kind of little shifts in structure to kind of inspire or produce a story in a new way for me. So this book was kind of a lot of experimenting, in terms of in what ways do kind of intentional structural decisions help push a story forward and help me figure out what a story is doing and what it is.
Did your studies push you in that direction?
Did my studies.
Yeah, your MFA, your PhD that you're working on.
Yeah, I think so, in some ways. Yeah, so I'm doing a PhD right now, and that's given me a lot of space and freedom, I think, to kind of explore in different ways. More than my studies, I feel like it's just sort of the flash fiction form in general. You're writing in such a short space that I think in you know, getting sort of creative in your execution is almost necessary, or else things start to feel a little stale, at least for me. And so a lot of it was kind of just, what can I, how can I challenge myself in this form that I really, really love, and see, what else is available, or what else is possible through it.
And also, I mean, since we last met, you've become a mother, you're a
Mhm.
teacher, you're a student. When do you write?
Good question. It's very tough. I write when I can, and I try to give myself grace and not put um, too much pressure on myself in terms of, I think writers are great at beating themselves up for not writing. And that's something that I'm trying not to do. I had to pause, writing fiction for quite a while because I've had so much academic work to do for this PhD that I'm doing. And I'm getting back into a new project right now, which is great. But just I find it when I can, after my kid has gone to sleep, early in the morning, the couple hours that we found like a co-working slash daycare space that I will take him to once in a while. So I'm in one room kind of typing away, and he's in the other room playing with the daycare people, and that works for me too. But it's really tough, and I think the older I get, the more I just feel like every writer is different in terms of how they can fit it into their lives. Almost none of us have our whole lives to dedicate just to writing, and so I'm just doing the best that I can. um,
Does writing still energize you?
yeah, yeah, definitely it does. And I don't think I would do it if it didn't. It energizes me. It feels like a way to access parts of my brain, that I don't otherwise, in my daily life. And yeah, that totally feels great. It feels necessary. And I'm always ready for it, probably more ready for it now than I used to be, in terms of, when I do have time to get down and sit down at the desk, I'm more ready to go, than I think I ever used to be, just because uh, there's less time, and just appreciate it just as much.
A lot of your stories are very surreal. Now, in your process, do you already have the surreal part of it in your head before you sit down and start the story, or do you start a story and just let things in your mind jump from that starting point?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the story. It's different, every time. Sometimes, kind of an image, a surreal image, could be the thing that inspires the story. That doesn't mean that I'll know where it's going to end. But for instance, for Dr. Ear, it has a lot of kind of fabulous, the whole story hinges on a fabulous event. And I knew what that event was. I knew it was going to be a woman that sprouts ears. Didn't necessarily know where it was going, but that kind of was the instigation for the story. I think with that one, I felt like I was channeling a bit of Edgar Corrett or something like that. um, but other ones, especially, and even in this book, there's a few that are also fabulous, but are kind of more impressionistic and maybe a little bit more associative, like As If in Prayer or Tornado Warnings. And with those, I really have no clue what's going to happen. I kind of just let myself put something in it that feels right at the time, and maybe it will stay, maybe it won't. But I kind of let those be a little bit more fluid and more about like the affect rather than the traditional like cohesiveness of a plot, I would say.
Now, with your flash fiction, do you ever write the stories as if they're just mini full length stories? In other words, you said the cohesiveness of the traditional plot. Do you ever
Yeah.
write any of your flash in that way? Like, let's make it a mini 3,000 word story in 300 words.
I'm not sure I've ever kind of thought of it that way. That would be an interesting experience, or just like that would be an interesting like experiment, just to kind of frame it that way from the beginning. But I do think you can actually flesh out something in 3,000 words quite a bit. I wouldn't say that I necessarily go in with that intent. Um, yeah, it's an interesting thing to think about. I tend to think of Flash more like the experience of listening to a song in some ways than writing a novel. I'm really looking kind of for that impact, that emotional impact that I think that a short form does really well. But yeah,
What is the longest piece in the book?
in this book, I believe it is probably something both terrifying and comforting. Which is one of the stories that's real, pretty much realism, straight realism in this book. And that is one, two, three. It's only 5 pages. These are shorts. Yeah, these are quite short. These book or these stories.
And what is your favorite piece in the book? And also, I'm going to ask you, what piece do you think that was the most well done? And is there a difference for a writer?
Yeah. Um, well, yeah, that's a good question. My favorite piece. So I've come to grow really fond of the story Miles, which is the third story in the book. And it's got kind of a magical element. It's a story about a woman who has a young child who finds the woman's old journal and discovers a that the mom was pregnant before this child was born, and it kind of goes into that. And then kind of a magical thing sorts of happen with the child's imagination as they're thinking about this new child. And that story um, means a lot to me now. I wrote that story before my son was born and before I was even pregnant. So I think that I have like a newfound um, appreciation for the couple stories in here about children or pregnancy. It must have been somewhere up in my head because I wrote them before Augie was here, and now that he's here, they mean a lot more to me. Um, the one that's the most well done, it's hard for me to say. I think I a lot of people tell me that Doctor Ear is their favorite. I've been kind of looking like going back after the fact and looking at Open Up, which is another kind of realist story. And looking at the kind of that story's got a lot of layers that I think is maybe technically interesting, especially for realism coming from me because it's not something I do very often. So I might say like craft wise, in kind of a traditional way, that's the one that might be doing the most in some ways. And yeah, and I think there is different between favorite and best in some ways. It would be different for everyone. I mean,
Yeah.
technique is so hard to kind of talk about those things too because it's so subjective. But
Yeah, my favorite stories are the ones that I have private jokes that only I laugh at
yeah.
in the middle of the story.
Yeah,
These
that makes
Easter
total
eggs.
sense. Yeah. I mean, if I'm entertained, well, there's one story that didn't make the book that my editor actually was kind of like, I don't really know about this one, that I really actually am very close to, and maybe it'll make another book one day, but that I just had so much fun writing it that I just really, was attached to it just because of that. If something's fun to write too, it's just like, I don't know. How can you not enjoy it?
Your book had you had a special edition hardcover. How cool was it to hold like that was your first hardcover? How cool was it to hold that in your hand?
Yeah, it's really great. They did a really nice job with it.
The cover's awesome.
Yeah, it's a very pretty little slim heart. Yeah, I think it's nice. My first book was actually hardcover too, but it wasn't a special edition. It was like that was the book. But I think I've been actually kind of spoiled in some ways as like an indie press writer to have hardcover books because that's a rare thing to have happen. And they've both been really beautiful, and yeah, I
Uh,
really
Question
appreciate it.
from Matt. Since you opened up the can of worms with your music, what narrative songs or bands are you listening to?
Oh my gosh, that's a interesting question, and a tough question. But actually, so I've been has are any of you part of or have any of you heard of Music League? Um,
Mm-mm, tell us about it.
I'm in like a music league right now that is it's essentially like fantasy football, I am told, although know nothing about fantasy football, where you have like a bunch of people on this like online app, and each week there's like a theme, and you submit a song that you think fits that theme, and then people vote without knowing who submitted what song on the songs that they like the best each week, and they get kind of ranked. So it's kind of a music competition, and this week it was Journey Week. So it was songs that take you on a journey, which is kind of like a narrative week in some ways. And I had a tough time with it, but I ended up submitting this song called 52 Vincent Black Lightning, that is like this really beautiful finger picking um, song, and tells a story of it's a love story about someone who rides his motorcycle and falls in love, and then I don't want to ruin it, but it's a really good song. You should look it up. So I've been listening
Did
to
you
that.
win?
I don't know yet. It's actually the deadline to submit your votes is like right now. So I'm not winning. What I can tell you what is winning.
Are
What's
you allowed
actually
to go? Are you allowed to choose the band Journey for the Journey theme?
Yeah, yes. No one did this. I think Rhapsody in Blue, someone submitted that, and that's actually on top right now,
Oh
which I
wow.
think is a wonderful and weird song to submit. Um, but yeah, we got some 14-minute songs. I recommend it if you have a bunch of friends who are into music. Start a music league. It's really fun.
That's awesome. That sounds like fun. It really does.
It is.
So last question. I know that you're a really big reader. So, who blows your mind from the craft slash language perspective, and who blows your mind from plot driven?
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, so I've been returning to Dennis Johnson. Right. I have a friend who's reading Jesus the Son for the first time, which has given me the opportunity to reread it in different ways so I can talk about it. And that book honestly blows me away on both of those levels. But craft wise, it's just kind of a magic trick the way that those stories develop. And sentence by sentence, the musicality and the imagery and the figurative language that Dennis Johnson manages in that book is just phenomenal. So that's one that comes to mind like right off the bat in terms of craft. Um, yeah.
Well,
Um,
and what about so you
Plotting.
said both, yeah. Plot
Yeah.
driven.
Yeah, that's trying to think of what I've been reading recently.
This
I
is
don't know, like
stump the
I
guest.
yeah, like I guess kind of like plot, like George Saunders' plot is kind of a master plotter, knows how to keep things both interesting and simplified at the same time, which I think is hard to do. Um, I guess, I mean, I'm definitely influenced by plots that move forward but are also kind of elusive. So like Murakami's types of, like it's like how do we get from point A to point B? I don't know, but I've also like haven't stepped off the ride. So like those kind of plots, I'm really like kind of drawn to. Um, I'm Amina Kane's another writer who I feel like does that kind of thing in her work. Not the kind of magically stuff necessarily, but yeah. So I guess plot wise, I'm kind of driven to these plots where I can't really understand how it works, but it works. So it's kind of like yeah, taking plot and kind of doing something in a roundabout way that still feels natural.
Well, it's awesome to see you, and thank you so much. Your book sounds amazing and intriguing, and I really love how you represented it tonight. And here it is, How to Love a Black Hole. Um, and you can buy it at bookshop.org, Barnes& and Noble, Amazon. Uh, Pre-order, no, it's already out. You don't have to pre-order it. You'll get it within the week. And so check it out. And, people appear on Dyer to promote their books and sell their books. So, do them a goodie. And thank you so much, Rebecca. Great
Of
to see
course,
you.
this has been lovely. Thank
And
you.
folks that are watching on the stream of Facebook, we're going to shut you guys down right now. But if you would like to read in the open mic, use the link and I'll gladly let you in. So bye to you.